All right, guys, welcome to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate. I'm your host, Dean Harris, and as always, I'm with Douglas Skipworth. How you, buddy?
Hey, man, doing great.
We're bringing you this podcast to give you the boots on the ground knowledge to be a successful real estate investor here in Memphis. Please like and subscribe to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, wherever you listen to the podcast and the show. Show sponsors are listed on your screen below. We would not be able to do this show, run our rental businesses without these guys. It's Triumph Construction, River City Title, Cortland Financial, CrestCore Property Management, and Will Griffin with Griffin, Clift, Everton, and Mashmeyer. I help buyers and sellers every day, guys, here in Memphis. Dean at CrestCore.com. If you have any questions about a house you need to sell, you want to get a buyer link sent to you so you can start receiving the houses we send out every day, Dean at CrestCore.com. How you doing?
Great. Yeah.
Good time to talk about how are we analyzing properties.
Okay.
That's today's topic. We're just going to discuss how we break down properties, what all is included in it. This is a popular. Now, I'm not going to take one property out. Everybody, and I kind of want to preface this podcast with this. Okay. Everybody breaks a property down a different way.
Slightly.
Yes.
Slightly different.
There's a variation, or they weigh something heavier than others do, or they add things that others don't.
Yep.
And what I always try to tell investors, truthfully, is if you don't have a formula or a spreadsheet or something you're working on right now, go to Bigger Pockets. They have a very simple, basic deal calculator sheet that you can use that includes the basics. I'm encouraging everyone to go there. Big fan of that. So how are you analyzing your property? You know, the first thing I think about, when someone says, hey, Dean, do you want to buy 123 Main Street? I'll ask you, what's the first question that pops into your head?
Man, what's the price? Is it occupied?
Yeah.
What's the rehab?
My
what's
very first question is the price.
Is the price. There you go.
I just want one thing first. How much is it?
How much is it?
Oh, you're out in left field with that. I can't.
For sure. Yeah, you don't want to negotiate with somebody if they're not motivated.
Who's not really wanting to negotiate.
That's right.
But I go for the price.
Yeah.
And if, based on my knowledge and experience, if it's within reason, then you move to the next. But the very first thing I try to look at is coordinate in my head a house in an area and a price. Does that make somewhat sense? Yes, I feel like could hold in that market, so I go with that.
Yeah.
Second thing I look at, we were doing this morning. The second thing I look at is a market rent.
Yeah.
So I just got to start a process of elimination. I got to start just vetting the home initially from me and you just talking.
Right.
This is not looking up anything. I'm just okay. So I got my price. How much does it rent for? X. Okay. Well, sounds so far good.
Check.
Almost like you're going on a date.
Yeah.
Okay. Second. So far so good. The very next question is condition. This is the one that you can't get typically up front when you're breaking down the home. We try to.
A guess, but it's a guess.
It's a guess. And sometimes the pictures can be deceiving.
For sure.
Are these pictures before the two
moved in? You ever seen a profile pic on a social media site? A dating website? Pictures can lie.
What's the Tinder for real estate?
That's right.
The Tinder for investment real estate is...
Yes. Yeah, you've seen a lot of those MLS pictures.
Swiping right on houses in bad areas or whatever it is. So, you just have to go and kind of present this or the property all in one. Mm-hmm. I try to equate it to me selling a property to you guys that are listening. I don't just hit you with, hey, man, this rents for this. And I got to give you the rest of it. You got to have the,
absolutely.
So I go price and I go rent, and then it's condition.
Yeah.
And if I can look at some pictures and I can see, hey, this home's not destroyed, or this is worth pursuing further. I think that's the bar, worth pursuing further based on the pictures. Then okay, let's see it. Maybe let's contract it now, right? Like let's lock it up. I don't need much other information to get it going now. We ran through a whole lot of these things of how you're analyzing. When you're coming up with your spreadsheet and your things, what are some of the things that you might add that are off those three things, right? Because I think everybody, if you asked them, they would say, well, Dean, I need to know the price. I need to know the rent. I need to know the condition.
Yeah.
But there's some things that come out of left field sometimes that we'll see or whatever.
Yeah, we'll talk about this. And I think obviously you're talking about, when I think back of it, it's like you want to know the location and the type of property. Like if somebody said, I've got a commercial building for you in Omaha, you could easily say, not interested.
That's exactly
So as long as they say a house in Memphis, then you're like, price.
Yep.
the rent amount and the condition.
Right.
And so then it's like, okay, well, what are the taxes? What's my insurance estimate going to be? You know, is it occupied? If it is occupied, how long is the lease? Do you have some maintenance record? We can go on and on and on. The condition, get an inspection.
Yep.
So I know you got a lot on there, but I will say, and you preview all of this on every property you send out.
Every single property that is sent out to our buyers, I am running through this scenario before I send it to you.
So if you receive the emails from Dean, all of the information we're talking about today on how you break down a deal is already included in the initial email.
That's right.
And then you can dig even deeper.
You can dig even deeper.
So,
if you get a 123 Main Street from me, it's going to come with all of this.
With all this.
ARV comps, market rent linked. We use rentometer.com.
Yep.
I mean, there's no secret in it. It's a paid website. So those are people have to pay to put their information on there. Maybe, not 100% accurate, but way more accurate than Zillow or anything else, right? So the rent, and then we go into the, the condition and all that. So photos, anything that you can provide, anything that I can send you that I'm sent by the property source or what have you, right? So I send the zip code breakdown of that area,
map,
suggested offer amount. All of that information comes from me.
Yes.
My team puts it in the format.
Yeah. Insurance estimate, tax estimate.
Yes. So everything that now, what are some of the funny things that we hear that people put on there? Like I've had a guy before, hey, you live in Memphis. Do you put earthquake insurance on there? And I'm like, yeah, I know we have a fault line, up north of us a little bit, but no. How could you do that? If we joked before we started recording today, this podcast is like, if an earthquake comes to Memphis, my guy, and it's a big enough earthquake, we're all going to be in New Orleans and down in the Delta. So we'll have bigger concerns about our $1,500 rental property if we get an earthquake that big here. So, no, I don't add that. Flood insurance, only if it's applicable in the area that you're buying.
Most aren't.
Most aren't here. So I don't see a whole lot of that. Vacancy rate is something that I try to take into consideration.
Gotcha. As far as like the area?
Yeah, the area. So a vacancy rate, and the most common response for that is 10%.
Right.
I think if you want to remain real safe, you can use 10%. Although, working with CrestCore Property Management and working with, hands-on a little bit, I think if you're paying attention and staying active and promoting your properties, I don't even think you'll carry 10%. I have a portfolio. I don't normally get it to 10. 6, 7, 8, I'm running right in there, but I don't run 10 and over. I just don't, because I'm paying attention if you feel like you need to use that number,
conservative.
That's fine.
Be conservative.
What else do we have in there? We've got vacancy rate, taxes and insurance we put in there. Some people will budget for property management, right?
Yes.
So you need to count that in there. We've advised you a million times that you need to budget. I have to have it in there.
Yeah.
And then there's a maintenance number that people will include in there. 10% typically for that maintenance. I get real simple with this.
Yeah.
When I'm looking at a property.
Right.
I just take the gross rent, depending on the area.
Okay.
Minus about 30% and divide it by the purchase price, and there's your cap, there's your rate. So if I can get in, I get real simple.
So basically what you've said is you take the gross rent amount, the easy math, $1,000.
Yep.
Minus 30%, which is $300, gives you $700. So you're considering that to be the cash flow.
That's right.
Of that property, and then you're dividing that by the sales price.
That's right. So if we
sales price by that.
In that example, if we had 1,000 rent, that'd be 12,000 minus 30% would be 3,600. So what is that? 8,400. So I divide 8,400 by whatever we bought it for.
$100,000.
8.4%. You got an 8.4%. You got a pretty good return. So there's how I get real simple. Then if once I get to that and I see that number, I'm like, okay, that's good. Then I go further.
And and getting real deep in it. That's before appreciation.
Yep.
And that's before leverage.
All advantages that we're not calculating into this. We just want to see that this one particular property works today. Okay, I can make this work today. I'm going to have advantages and options down the road with this property. It's going to help me, and especially if I get 50, because it really helps you, right? It comes in masses. The power of this comes in masses of what you can do with these things. But anyway, so what you get, but you got to treat them individually like one. So I thought this was good information today to break down and to give I mean, all of these things might seem standard. They might seem like stuff that, hey, you should, but I mean, you'll be surprised at how many people come to me and say, hey, what all do you include in how you break down a property, right? You just need to understand what you're spending. I don't, if I'm being honest, I don't sit here and I run these numbers and I do all this, but if there's something a little bit off, I mean, I don't kick the property to the curb.
Yeah.
So I want to caution everybody there. Like,
oh, gotcha.
You ever heard you can spreadsheet something to death?
Yes.
Paralysis or analysis by paralysis.
Yeah.
So, or paralysis by analysis.
Yeah, analysis,
so
paralysis.
I just, you can overdo it, and I wouldn't overthink it.
You can overthink it. You can be too rigid. There's some give and take in some of this stuff.
Yeah. Or you can sit here for forever, Douglas.
Right. But what we've talked about lots on here is the good thing to do with this, because one thing we haven't mentioned is when you're analyzing this deal, it's either before you're making an offer, but that should be pretty quick. Like you shouldn't spend a lot of time before you make an offer, because you can get what is called an inspection contingency that gives you the time to go out and look at the property, or have a contractor go out at Triumph Construction, go out and look at the property, and then be able to negotiate and run your numbers based on that.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work,
it just doesn't
you
work.
can cancel the contract, which is standard here in Memphis with investment properties, and go on to the next one. So you should be getting a lot of reps in, canceling a lot of contracts.
Yeah. We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. And by getting those reps in, you get more and more and more and more comfortable, and you understand where it's more fluid, and you're not so. I wish I could do the robot.
Yeah, right. Maybe Alec can put in the link to the podcast that we did a few weeks ago.
I didn't know Michael Jackson was the one who brought that back to life in the 70s with Dancing Machine.
He brought that back?
He brought that back.
He brought a lot of stuff back.
He did. It's
Alec,
amazing. Anyway.
If you can put a link on there of the last podcast where we broke down about sending offers out. Like, I want you to send offers out. Use this
and
to
then
practice.
use this. Send the offers out. Get under contract. Use this. Do inspections, cancel contracts, and then you'll, like, if you do enough, like, one's gonna fall through, and you're gonna be like, you're just waiting for it to come all the way through, and it sits right there. It's like a gumball, turning that gumball machine.
And we can stay
just
super
watching
patient.
It's going.
We'll stay super patient with you guys. It's not like,
no.
I think I gave these numbers in that podcast. We close 25-ish or so every single month. We cancel 10 to 12 every month. Guys, I'm telling you, in a situation, if it's not a deal, I'm going to tell you to cancel it.
Yeah.
I don't have any interest in you buying a property that's not going to work. We'll use all of the things that we talked about today to break it down, figure out if it works for you. At the beginning, we'll do it again during the inspection contingency period, right?
Yes.
After you've seen it and we will know factually what's going on, we'll break it down again and make sure that it works. And if it doesn't, we'll cancel it. I don't have any problem with it. Agents have used it against me in the past, and I'm fine with it. I don't have any problem with that.
It blows my mind.
Yeah, it blows my mind that someone would say, "Hey, don't be careful, Dean. They cancel deals." I sure do, man.
I represent my buyers.
Yeah, I rep you. I'm here for you.
They're the ones who are paying for a service, so I want to do a good job for that service.
Yeah.
Hey, I just thought Core Lend, it's show sponsor.
Yep.
They help when you're borrowing hard money from them. They do the exact same thing in the sense of they break it down because they don't want to put you in a loan that you can't repay, because that's not good for either of them.
Yeah, so we talked about that as well, like how to use hard money and how to come. They will help you with all of this. So there's several different checks and balances along the way when you're working one of these properties. Me, Cortland, anybody that's working with you to break these down. Anything else you want to add?
That's awesome stuff,
guys. Thanks. If you have any questions about breaking down a property, analyzing property, Dean at CrestCore.com. We'll see you soon.